Okay.
This is so we are in the middle of the Perest. So we went through it. If you go from that part.
Okay, that's another half.
If you take a bus again,
it'll continue that way.
if you continue that way, that is the faster way to get at the
And this island is called what?
Our Lady of the Rocks.
Lady of the Rocks.
Yes, it has a really interesting story if you don't know anything about.
This is just a quick pan of the island so you can see its dimensions roughly. This is a man-made island except for the rocks directly underneath the altar, and I'll explain that in a moment. So Alexandra gave myself and another couple who joined us a very good explanation. So now I'm going to exit out from the balcony and go back through it again so I can record what I would like to record. This is one half of the entry door. Notice the boat motif. In a few moments, when these people get out of the way, we'll go closer to the altar. But originally, the story of this is that painting up there of the Virgin Mary was found by two fishermen on a small outcropping of rock in the bay directly underneath that altar. It was then taken in, given to the Church of St. Nikolai, and then after back and forth, it became apparent that this Virgin Mary wanted to be out here, and that was in 1452 that all this took place. For the next, from 1603 on, it was decided that she wanted a church built here, and as a consequence, they, over the next 200 years, built this island by taking old derelict ships, old captured ships, filling them with stones, bringing them out here and sinking them. So there are over 100 ships underneath this island that create the basis for this island. Now, the artist of all of this work was from Perast, although you have to wonder, where did he really initially come from to be able to do this kind of caliber work? This reflects the moment of the death of Mary. The work up on top is the Assumption, I think it's called, where she rises into heaven. And then these side panels represent the various prophets, Moses, etc., etc., and the symbols that they are recognized by. Best resource, simplest resource is the recent National Geographic article that I have. Now what's fascinating is this level of silver work, and I'll go at some of these in detail, but what they are is, over the course of the hundreds of years that this church has existed, as sailors went out from here around the world and suffered various dangers, catastrophes, battles, whatever, in thankfulness for their safe return after these harrowing experiences, they would present the church with these silver plaques. And they were made of silver because apparently at that time silver was more valuable than gold. Also, as I've seen before in various countries, including Costa Rica, when a particular event dealt with a particular part of the body, then that is oftentimes the subject of the donation. Here a leg, here another leg. This may indicate a shipwreck, ship on rocks. Here provide the survival of a profound storm, perhaps. And apparently this is the largest collection in Europe of such silver votives. Whether that's the largest collection of nautical related votives or not, I don't know. The altar is composed of Carrara marble that was sculpted by two Genoese family members. It also includes some marble from Venice. I don't remember which one is which, or Siena, I think, actually. And then the purple or mauve is from Egypt. And then this is from the marble from Greece. And apparently it was paid for by weight equal in silver to what they got in marble. And it's underneath this huge altar that lies those original stones. And apparently you can reach in and touch those stones somewhere here, although she didn't point that out. After the city was saved from the potential attack of Ottomans in 1603, the painting was ensconced inside this silver. You can see places for baby Jesus and for Mary's face of the potential attack by the Ottomans. These are tokens left by brides, recent brides, including Alexandra, from their wedding when they were married here. The floor crypt, which we've seen before. These are just silver medallions from various families, silver crosses, all donations in thankfulness to the Virgin Mary. Here are paintings also of ships that oftentimes had some importance to saving lives or having been rescued or having survived incidents. These were donated by their captains or their owners. And apparently this is the largest collection of such paintings. This, of course, is interesting because there are three hands. She says there's some humor there, that it actually is the result of, there's an earlier picture underneath, and the later artist, more recent artist, decided to incorporate one of the hands. I think there's something more cynical probably in the explanation than just that. Here we can see the outline of this island that we're on, and some other models of ships. Again, probably votive models. This, I think, gives a good example of the whole point. The Brigantine something or other, Ciro. Notice a vignette of Virgin Mary in the upper left-hand corner. This is a picture of a ceremony that's done on, I think, the 22nd of July. Every year it has been done for since either 1403 or 1600, and it is a ceremony in which at sunset the boats and only men from Paras, because that's who found the picture, they take symbolic stones with them and then circle the island 3 times, dropping stones in there, symbolizing the building of the island. Here are just some of the memorabilia. Again, all of these things probably donated, although this is a lapidarium apparently put together by a particular man who had an affection for archaeology, including these items that I think are a couple of hundred years, a couple of 3,000 years before Christ, that were found in a nearby cave. Again, these are more gewgaws that average people, housewives from Paras, would leave as tokens of thanks for, or hope for, the return of their sailor or captain, husband or son. They did not have the wherewithal to donate silver plaques, but they donated something that they prized in their normal home life. Which is interesting because we see some implements I can't even identify. I find it perhaps disingenuous that women got rid of their satirns, since that's a great thing to get rid of. This is not plastic, it's some Moravian or something like that glass. To those who collect it, it's probably well known. But these also may represent the ceramics from China, from Japan, from the places their captains had traveled in the past, or their sailor husbands. And the various ships since the 1700s apparently that have used the name of this island and this church are recorded here, along with their captain's name and their time of service. Memorializing some battle they survived, or even won. Here are more tokens of thanks, usually reflecting the event that they survived, a gun that exploded, a battle they were in, an automobile that had an accident that they were in, a plane that crashed and they have a piece of it because they survived it, that sort of thing. This apparently is the statue, or the front piece that was on the bowsprit of a boat, and this was of one of the teaching boats, in other words, a boat from one of the sailing schools of either here or Venice or some other place nearby. And this is the professor. And again, a wooden version of Mary and Christ, this being oftentimes what men on ships focused on during religious services. Other items that were taken from the sea nearby, here representing the long period of time that this bay had been used over history. This probably reflects the harrowing circumstances of which this picture Captain wanted to allude to. And it's pretty obvious that here he survived this sinking, and there's the Virgin Mary in the upper right-hand corner. And notice this is a sailing ship, but this is a transition ship between sailing and steam-powered. I'm guessing this is a very tiny little cannon, almost a gun-mounted, if you will. Heavy iron astrolabe, if that's what they call those, or sextant, perhaps. This apparently was work done by a wife of a captain, in which over the course of her life, there's two different legends, she waited for the captain for 25 years. The other legend suggests that as he left for 3 or 4 years and then returned, he brought with him various precious goods, materials that she could use in her work. One was Chinese silk, Japanese silk, gold and silver thread from her own hair, and apparently it depicts the transition of time by the vehicle of the changing color of hair. Here when they were younger, as they get older, progressively more and more white goes into the hair, until it is all white. And of course the centerpiece is the Virgin Mary painting when it was ensconced in those two sheets of silver. This is one of the first pictures of the artist that did the work downstairs, and it depicts Herod killing off children, and as she points out, it's one of the only sad paintings in the museum. At one time, pirates were a problem. I think it was Turks. No, the pirates from Tunisia invaded here and took back 600 captives. They took 600 hostages, and that was a real shocker, apparently, to the community. These are interesting devices for holding cannonballs, although it doesn't look like you'd have much control, it would just tip over. This is apparently the oldest piece of furniture in either the Balkans or Europe, I forget. It's 500 and some years old. It was kind of like a hope chest of a family. The mother and the father and the first son would apparently have a separate lock, a separate key, all of which had to be opened in order to give any of them access. This is made out of palm wood. It's one of the, I forget the term now, the things that you put on the front of a ship, and it's the Madonna. And such, again, were used as not only the front piece of the ship, but also what you worshipped while you were on the ship. And this is apparently a professor's chair. At least it's nice to know that he was as uncomfortable as the students were. And one of those elegant, Baroque old ships. And here here a view from the window. That's Sasha approaching in his small boat, so I'll make a quick pan around here while he's doing that and go back with him. And then apparently the bus continues on around here to a small town of Risen and then maybe to Hersko-Novi or something like that. Here early with Alejandra, Alexandra, same thing only in their language, who is a guide here. She volunteers. She's a professor of Italian for 17 years or 14 years. She and her family lived in Italy, and then she moved the family back here. But she gave me an in-depth, detailed tour. It was very, very filled with one boatload full of tourists after another, so it's just a real packed mess.